Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And my name is Bryce Runge.
You know, my sister says that I sound too much like a game show host.
I'm telling you, dude, it's like a radio show or a game show. What's the guy that does? Oh, it's the Price is Right?
His name was Rod Roddy. And yes, he did it. Actually, he was the announcer for a couple of different game shows. But anyway, so I was trying to think of that when I started our intro today. Maybe try and sound less like a game show. So, Beth, there you go. What do you think?
Dan and Mallory, come on down. Can you try it, please? Come on, just make up a couple names. And anyways, yeah, you definitely do have that voice.
Do I? Well, I've been
or a game announcer, baseball for sure.
Just a bit outside. Ball 4. Okay. So anyway, how you doing today?
I'm tired.
Yeah?
I'm always tired.
You got 2 little kids.
I've got a 14-year-old too. I've got an ex-wife.
Okay.
I've got a wife.
Okay.
I've got a job. I don't know why I even had to mention ex-wife. Maybe because there was some recent drama.
Oh, there always
which is just always there, and I try and avoid even talking about it. But it's
I get you. I do too.
It's always a challenge when hey, you made a decision to lay with that person, so deal with the effects of it.
30 seconds of fun.
Did I say that out loud?
18 years of whatever.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, 4 years left. 4 years left. No,
well,
I don't want the 4 years to go by.
Well, I get you. You, it's interesting you mentioned that because as I'm working on and I'm nearly finishing up my work to be a professional counselor.
Yeah.
I think about how did I get here? They constantly have us look at ourselves. They keep arguing that the better we know ourselves, then the better the therapist we can be. And so I keep doing different things. They had us take some personality profiles.
Oh yeah.
And that was kind of interesting. The different things that they shared. And
was it Myers-Briggs by chance?
It was the Myers-Briggs was one of the 2. Have you taken that?
DISC. I've done both. Yep.
Okay.
DISC.
Do you remember what 4 letters you were for the Myers-Briggs?
No.
Okay.
No.
I had to look mine up because I took it a long time ago, and so.
Well, you and I talked about leadership on our podcast a while back.
Okay.
And then I spoke at our table message lesson, whatever you want to call it, several months ago on that. But I brought up the very fact that to be a great leader, you got to know who you are.
Yes.
You got to know who you are.
Understand your strengths.
Yeah.
And your, I guess lack of a better term, your weaknesses. Yeah. And the more you're right. The more you can recognize yourself, then the easier it is to help you, to move forward.
Right.
And it was funny, just this, a few days ago, we were, not too recently in the past, we were helping my niece move back home from college.
Oh.
And as we were making the long drive out to Denton, hey, on 380, that's a long drive.
That probably took you 2.5 hours. Jeez.
God bless 380. Anyway, so as we were driving out there, Sherry said something about, positivity and your outlook. If you are more negative, then everything you see and say things from a negative outlook.
Right.
When you're more positive about things, you then, you see things, you respond more positively. Mostly, well, we were in the car, so you can imagine where my mindset was.
You should have been playing classical music.
I probably should have, but I wasn't, alas. And, you know, Highway to Hell was playing on the radio.
Oh, yeah. Great song to be in traffic with.
No kidding. So anyway, so she brought that up, and I thought, okay, I need to be more positive, and I can be. But it's you know, there's something about the allure of negativity that brings you down. And then I got thinking about, okay, relationships. And I look at our relationship, and I am so grateful to have that relationship, because it's where I always wanted to go.
Right.
And like anything, it's we got our ups and our downs.
Yeah.
You got your stressors. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
I guess if it was perfect, well, then we'd have something else to argue about. But it got me thinking about then the past. And then I ran across a particular article. And I guess it's not necessarily an article. It's more like a blog. A lady by the name of Amy Lewis Bear. She's a professional counselor. And she was talking about, can you recognize the effects of a controlling relationship? And as I was thumbing through this, it took me down the rabbit hole of marriage number one. And I thought, you know, how many people are in, like I was, a controlling relationship? You didn't like it, but you didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, would you be all right if we kind of looked into this?
Yes, but I am afraid that there might be some things in here that may force me to look in the mirror. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
no, I'm not. Yeah. I am, but I'm not.
Well, I think sometimes looking in the mirror is how we get better. Again, Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
It again allows you to keep from going down.
In theory, yes.
Well, okay, theory, yes. I will stick to theory because, well, that's where we live.
Why do I sound like I'm being negative all of a sudden?
I don't know. Gosh. And we're not even driving.
Yeah.
So
who would drive, me or you?
Ooh.
See, I don't ever let Suzanne drive.
Really?
I don't know. It's not, and maybe it is a controlling thing. Ooh. But I just like to be behind the wheel because I feel like I'm a better driver.
See, I know I'm not, but I drive because I don't like riding in Sherry's car.
Gotcha.
Because it's so low to the ground.
Oh.
I have a hard time getting in and out of it. I mean, it's a nice sedan. Okay, yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's a great car. Once we're in there, I love the ride.
Yeah.
All right, and I don't like driving her car.
Yeah.
I do not.
Yeah.
So if we're going somewhere, baby, you can drive.
Yeah.
But if we're going somewhere and I don't want to ride in her car, then I'll suck it up and drive.
Yeah.
When we go. When we drive up to Kansas to go see Eric, I'll drive my truck.
Yeah.
But like we went up to see some friends in Kansas for a surprise birthday party for a dear friend of mine, and Sherry drove.
Yeah.
And we're going to my mom's for her birthday, and Sherry's going to drive her car, so she'll drive. So I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Suzanne's driven sometimes, but I drive 99% of the time. And I don't know if it's a chivalrous thing, you know? But I do feel like, no, I need to be driving.
Okay.
I always open the door for her.
Sure. Way to be a gentleman.
Even if we just got into an argument, I always open the door.
Okay.
So I always open the door. I always drive. And again, I don't know if it is that a control thing, or is it, hey, this is a chivalrous thing, right? I don't know.
Okay.
Well, or because I'm the better driver. everyone recognizes that I am the better driver in the house.
Well, yeah, because you drive that monster truck, you'll run right over their ass.
True. Very true.
So yes, you're a much better driver.
But it's funny. It's funny though that like the times that I have got. I think there was a recent time where I got in the car and Suzanne driving. She's like, "This is awkward. Do you want to get in here and drive?" I'm like, "No, you're fine." Really? Yeah, you're fine. Just drive.
Okay.
Okay. And it's like afterwards, like, yeah, that was awkward.
Well, then maybe you are a control freak.
Gosh, I don't know.
So let's take a look and let's see if you are, at least again, according to Amy Lewis Bear, LPC.
Let's do it. Let's see what things I need to be working on.
All right, because one of the things that she's talking about in this particular blog of hers talks about the idea of being twisted in a pretzel, where your partner has you all turned upside down, inside out, front to back, back to front.
What are we talking about here?
Well, are they so controlling that you can't figure, you feel like you're caught in quicksand?
Okay.
All right, so... And what I liked about this particular one is not only does she give some ideas to look at, but she also provides some insight on what you might be able to do to untwist.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and I can relate to a lot of these, especially with marriage number one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first one she discusses, she calls chasing your tail. Meaning that you're running around in circles to satisfy your partner, that they are all over the place on mood, emotions, maybe they're emotionally withdrawn, maybe they're hypercritical. Again, I remember Eric's mom, she was all of those. Critical of herself, critical of me, critical of others, always moody, up, down, left, right, and then was severely depressed, so she would emotionally withdraw. Sometimes it would be days before she would ever crawl out of bed.
Wow.
So I felt like I was chasing my tail, trying to, placate her, to make her happy, trying to do things that would avoid arguments, avoid fights, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now
I get that. Yeah.
So then, and here's what she says that you can do. If you find yourself that you're in a relationship like I was, that you're doing these kinds of things, she says, try and understand that your partner is actually manipulating you.
Mm-hmm.
That they are not necessarily doing that. They really truly feel this way. But that they're trying to act a way to control you. And so her response, you can respectfully tell your partner, hey, you know what? I'm not going to play the game to the level that you're going to play at.
I think I maybe said those same things. That never worked. I never untwisted.
Okay. Well, I mean, I will say that when I started
But
doing
I'm glad
these,
it didn't.
well,
Likewise, right?
yeah, because I think maybe I started some of this,
Yeah.
and then boom, we got we started the divorce.
Right. Yeah.
But I got untwisted. The divorce untwisted my butt.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
not the way I would have preferred it. So another thing that she talks about is she identified as being muzzled. And this really rang
I'm feeling like a dog theme here. Don't chase your tail,
chase your
muzzled.
tail. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Well, I had a house full of flipping dogs.
There you go.
All those-
And I feel like God looks at us and be like, listen, I'm going to just say it like this. Listen, moron, in your doggy mind. That's how I feel sometimes.
No. I mean, I can't totally disagree. But okay, going back to this, being muzzled,
Yeah.
where you don't say things,
Yeah.
where you're afraid to say things, you're afraid to speak out, you're afraid to call out your partner for what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're acting, because you don't want them to blow up on you.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've been there.
I swallow, and I will tell you straight up, I swallowed it.
Yeah.
And when I say I swallowed it, it came with a healthy dose of ice cream, healthy dose of food.
Yeah.
Because I hated that.
Yeah.
But I was all twisted up inside on, look, I don't want to, there's some good things about this relationship that I want to keep. We're going down a path I don't want to go, but I don't know how to fix it.
Right. Yeah.
And so one of the things that, again, for untwisting the muzzling is accept that shutting down is their power move.
Mm-hmm.
Take charge. That if you can express yourself and say, I don't like what you're doing. I wish you would do something else. I don't like where we are going.
Right.
That we need to make a change. You're taking some of that power and you're letting the person know that, hey, this is not a healthy relationship for me, and it's not a healthy relationship for you. It's a power drive. And if you want to control somebody, find another dancing chicken.
Right. Well, and I think this, I'm going to work backwards here based off of what you just said. Yes. And if you're opening up and you're communicating those things, then the person you're with, if they truly care, they're going to receive the message, and they're going to work with you, and they're going to respect you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going backwards, the self-imposed gag,
Mm-hmm.
the muzzle, yeah, totally been there. And would you consider that being passive?
Ooh, good point.
Not saying anything, avoidance,
Yeah.
right? And so, totally not good.
No.
And then what is that doing to you? It's festering inside of you. It's building bitterness and criticism and
Anger?
Anger and animosity and blah, 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 while the other person continues to get away with manipulation.
Yes.
And so, yes, been there. There are times right now with Suzanne that I will sometimes muzzle myself. And I think I do that. And again, I've been talking to you off air about moving into a new season and whatnot, just because I'm not okay with where we're at. I think we're all not okay with where we're at. I think we recognize it. I say as the adults.
Sure. No.
Kids are kids. They're just having whatever. They get to do whatever the hell they want to do. I say that, and I admit that, not because I'm not ashamed to admit it. I think I've done that because of maybe empathy, or maybe because I have a good read.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there are some things that my wife has gone through.
Could it be not so much a muzzle as this isn't the right time to let Mr. Nasty come and say things?
Yeah, but I also think that maybe there has been a muzzle, or that, hey, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe that's gone on just a little bit too long, and now it's almost maybe conditioned. And I think maybe that, and I have spoken about this, and I've addressed this. Again, moving into a new season, things have happened, but like we can't continue to keep making or using those excuses.
True.
Like, we need to move forward. And we're not going to be able to move the needle forward with the same excuses, the same routine, the same whatever. So going back to the muzzle. So I have done that just because, okay, well, I don't want to hurt, because I don't want to hurt the already hurting.
Okay, fair point. But I think that's maybe a little different, though, than a power play. Yeah. If you're being muzzled because you're afraid of making the other person angry, then I think that's a lot different than what you're saying with being empathetic. They're your partner's kind of in a sad way.
Right.
Okay, they just lost their favorite pet.
Right.
Well, that's all right. Well, let's go get a new one. Saying that.
Right.
Or not saying that. By not saying that, you're not muzzling yourself.
Right.
You're more let's let them grieve the loss of their pet for the last 12, 15 years.
Right.
And then, maybe
Right.
down the road, a week, a couple of weeks, a month or two, we can revisit. Well,
Right.
let me know when you might be ready to
Right.
find not a replacement, but when you think you might be ready to invest again.
Sure.
I think there might be a slight difference.
Yeah. No, I do agree, but I also think that you could get used to not saying anything.
Okay, fair point.
And I think what I'm trying to say is that maybe there are some things that I'm like, I don't say anything, which is passive, which is not who I am.
Okay.
And again, going back to just being beat up, not physically.
No, no. I gotcha.
And not by my wife. I'm just by the circumstances, right? The situations and whatever. I think we're going on a little bit too long.
Okay.
I get where you're coming from, and you're valid point. But also, you're right. The person that you're with should love and care enough to respect.
Yes. And if they don't, then
you got an issue.
You do. It's you're headed towards the unhealthy side.
You got an issue.
All right. So another one we're going to go to is.
Sorry, going on.
No. You're fine. You're fine. And I think it's okay to elaborate on some of this. But I think now that you're saying this, there truly is a dog theme to this, because the next one she talks about is healing, and we're not talking heal like a wound, but like when you tell a dog, heel, sit, lay down, roll over, beg. Eric's mom did this to me. And it was a slow progression, but I felt that, I was talked at, rather than talked with. And I was... well, you're going to do this. I go play cards with the guys. That's fine. Go play cards. But, when the dogs need up at 5:00, you're getting up, not me. When Eric gets up, you'll get up with him at 6:30, not me. Yeah. So stay out as long as you want. Just know that I'm not doing anything in the morning. It's all you. Well, that really was kind of crappy.
You're right.
Thank God they were next door and across the street.
Yeah.
I didn't have far to go. But, come midnight, hey, okay, fellas, I probably ought to wrap this up and go home. And it really kind of pissed me off.
Oh, and it ruined your night, I'm sure.
It sure did.
And you probably lost.
Yeah, I didn't win as much as I wished I would have.
Regardless, it tainted your night.
Oh, it did. It 100%. Did frequently.
Yeah.
There were times where she would. Okay. Let's see what's a good way to say this. Okay, we'd be playing with Lincoln Logs.
Yeah.
And I'd say, and he'd want to get out and play Legos. I go, great. Let's clean up the Lincoln Logs. No, I don't want to clean up the Lincoln Logs. We aren't playing Legos until we clean up the Lincoln Logs.
Right.
Well, then he would, cry and scream, and then Eric's mom would holler from upstairs in the bedroom where she was hiding out, and she would yell at me, "Don't you make him cry." Well, I'm trying to teach him that you clean up a mess before you move on to the next thing.
Amen, brother.
We're trying to teach. He was 3-4 years old.
Yeah.
You learn these things.
Yeah.
But she was trying to control, to dictate, to make me heal. And so her argument...
Not H-E-A-L.
But H-E-E-L.
Right.
And so her comment on how to improve on this is to let them know that, hey, that's let's find a way to compromise on this. Mm-hmm. That if you want to, and I tried and failed, but I would tell her, if you want to be a part of this, then crawl out of bed, come downstairs, and join us. Mm-hmm. But don't rule from on high.
Right.
without knowing anything, just making assumptions based on what little you can hear.
Yeah.
And, of course, by the time I did start to unmuzzle, it came out with a healthy dose of hostility.
Right.
Because I had swallowed so much.
Now you've been foaming out the
Oh,
mouth.
absolutely.
Big time.
And so it wasn't so my attempt to untwist was not the right way, and it created a lot more conflict.
Right.
But her argument is that let's talk about this. I'm going to say what I want. You share what your point of view is. I'm going to share my point of view, and we're going to have kind of a debate.
Right.
We're going to have a conversation about this. If you can't do that, then you can't untwist, and again, a sign that you are in an unhealthy relationship.
Right.
And it's there. I don't know why it seems like they're so easy to get into and so hard to get out of.
Yeah.
But again, I think knowing some of these signs, being forewarned, can help you be forearmed.
Well, that's a good, great point. And I think it's, like you said, it's so hard to get a, you spend years, getting a fit body, getting in the gym, and then, you stop, and then what happens? Everything goes to, you get into a relationship. You're like the most effective communicator in the whole entire world. You're all this, and you pour yourself out, and I love you so much. And then down the road, whatever. You encounter some things, or you settle, you get comfortable, and then you start to experience lack of communication, and so a breakdown in communication turns to what? Right?
Yeah.
Get it? You know where I'm going. So it's the same thing. It's you need to get, just because you get married doesn't mean you stop working.
Sure.
You have to continue to communicate. And I'm just talking to myself too, actually, right now. Literally, this is what I'm doing, because that's an area that I have struggled in. And I'm not using excuses, but that's just the area that I've been struggling in. And I pride myself on that. Communicate. Mm-hmm. You and I have talked this thing to death on this show. And, but again, it's the reality, and so you have to practice things. You have to be consistent in those areas.
Sure.
And, related to sports, right? Same thing. If you don't practice, you're not consistent, and you show up game day, what happened? You're going to lose.
And
unless you get a lucky break, but that's...
You can't depend on luck.
Yeah.
You mentioned something just a little bit ago, that you get comfortable, that you get invested in this person and pleasing this person. And that's actually one of the things, and one of the other items that you can look for is to trying to decide, are you in an unhealthy relationship or not? And that is, you are so caught up in pleasing the other person.
Right.
In your relationship that you cannot emotionally be available to connect with friends or family.
Right.
And I will say that I not only was not emotionally able to be there, I physically had a hard time being available, because if she didn't like you, or she didn't want to be there, then I could not physically be there. There were people I could not talk to on the phone in her presence because she didn't want me to talk to them.
Wow.
And that included a couple of my sisters. And some of my best friends back in Kansas. She didn't like them either. And so when you are being forced to isolate yourself, when you are unplugging from your family, from your friends, from your social network, then that's unhealthy.
Major red flag.
Yeah. And that's kind of what they're, again, her untwisting. What's driving this dysfunction? Look at that, explore that. And so moving forward, talk to these people, tell your partner that, hey, this is not healthy for me to be only dedicated to you. The last one, she's got a few others, but the last one I thought that was really good was hooked on hope. And I hoped that we would get better.
Yeah.
I hoped that, well, if we can get through this crisis, it will get better.
Right.
And she argues that this is unhealthy, that when you are hooked on hope,
Yeah.
you're going nowhere fast. And she argues that you need to stop accepting that hope will be where you go. She said that's false hope.
Yeah.
Or in fact, she says that false hope will only lead to more despair.
Right.
And I totally, absolutely agree with that. And her suggestion is accept what's happening
Right.
and go get help.
Right.
Whether it's professional help. In fact, that's what she does say. Get professional help. Go to see a therapist. If you can't go to couples therapy, then go on your own.
Right.
Build your own internal strength to give you the ability to break free of this controlling relationship, because
Right.
it is super, super unhealthy.
Right.
And I will say that I knew I was in this kind of relationship with Eric's mom. I hated it, and I felt I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And I think the best thing she ever did was file for divorce.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would have. That was never on the table.
Right.
And
Yeah, I would agree. And while I do believe that hope is a very powerful force, you need to put action behind that. You just can't be idle. Oh, I hope things get better, and continue to be passive. Right? That's not again, like she had said. Like it's, well, you're continuing to go down the path of disappointment and dysfunction and all that good D stuff, whatever. But I do believe in the power of hope. But there needs to be action, and you
Yes.
backed it up with you getting help, right? If you need to go alone, then go alone, because chances are you're going to uncover some internal issues,
I'm doing the bobblehead thing over here.
and maybe you didn't know were lying deep. And I know I've got that 100%. I know I do, but I do agree with that. And it's funny, not funny, that you'd said that it was the best thing. I had friends that would say, hey, I just want to meet her and say thank you for doing what you did, because otherwise I would have never been able to meet Bryce, and Bryce would not be on the path he's on right now if you didn't do what you did. So thank you. And so I kind of tried to adopt that mindset. Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, hey, thanks for doing what you did.
You know what?
Did it suck? Sure, it did. But the reality is, wasn't headed towards a place of I don't know, greatness. It wasn't headed towards the right place anyways. It never would have. But it was.
Maybe
look
that's
at us now, right? Look at us
Yeah.
now. So
Well, the next time I see your ex-wife, I'm going to go up to her and say, thank you. If you weren't such a... well, never mind. But, no, maybe I will. Maybe I will. I like that. Yes. Hope without action is just wishful thinking.
right,
Anyway, well, I hope... I hope that I never find myself back into a relationship that is one-sided.
right,
And I hope that anybody that ever is finds value, because you don't have to be there. You don't deserve to be there. And there are ways to not be there.
right.
So untwist.
Untwist it. I was going to go along with the whole dog thing.
Well,
But
I feel
whatever.
like a pretzel now. Cinnamon sugar pretzel.
That does sound good. What's that pretzel store in the mall?
Oh.
Like every mall in America.
Yeah, I know.
has
It's
it,
got
right?
the
What's it
yellow
called?
Annie
Annie Ann's or something, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
all right.
those are good. Those
Well,
are good.
then, let's go get some Annie
I'm
Ann's.
hungry.
All right.
All right.
Until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Bryce.
Ciao.